But that's the perfect transition on to the next segment. Way too early to judge in sports. Like you said, Reese, you put money down and you just knew they were gonna lose, and it's early. Things get a little tricky. So, at what point in time during the season, and I guess this can apply like basketball and football. At what point in time during the season do you say, all right, it's not too early anymore? Because I've made the statement, the Lakers went on an 0-5 loss. Like we have 2 5 losing game streaks, and it's like it's early. That's always my answer. Ben Simmons, it's early. Kyrie Irving, it's early. You know what I'm saying? Like
I feel like you have the luxury in basketball of early with 82 games.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So whereas like football, you don't have 82 games. You know what I mean? So like two 5-game losing streaks in football, that's that's the season basically. You know what I mean? But even 1 5-game losing streak in football and that's what I'll say too. Like for example, the Ravens in them blowing leads, like all those early games they blew leads in, home games that they couldn't win. They had like a 0-5 record at home at some point and like that. And so it's like at that point, I feel like it's not like you can judge it for what it is. They have Lamar Jackson, but you also know they're not playing up to their standard. So it's like, all right, I mean, you gotta, if you're gonna compete with the Chiefs, the Bills, you're gonna have to win these games.
So then at what, because you said a 5-game, if you have a 5-game losing streak, you're probably not going to get to the playoffs. But I can make the argument, okay, if you have a 5-game losing streak and then win out, you can get to the playoffs too. So at what, if you had to put like a week, right, that you say, all right, it's now not too early, like what would you put for football? And then Freddie, I'll go to you for NBA.
I feel like everybody has at least until the trade deadline. So you got until that week 8, week 9 point. And so that gives you the opportunity to kind of make a move. And then after you make that move, or if you don't make a move, that's it right there. You know what I mean? I feel like that's the perfect point to judge. Trade deadline for both sides. I think. Okay. I would say trade.
Okay. Now, Freddie, on the NBA, would the trade deadline be your answer as well, or is that too far?
No, I just want to give him credit for that, because I didn't even think of that. That's a good point. Your Lakers specifically trade with Paul Gasol, and some other teams have definitely benefited from that. So I think that's definitely a thing, and also a good point to basketball versus football. You got more games to make up for those losses. But I think locker room is like the biggest thing too. What's going on in your locker room, right? What type of leaders you have in your locker room? What type of leaders you have, from the coaching step up into the office? All that matters. You look at Miami. I was disappointed in them. I know they had injuries, but they're turning it around right before our eyes. They just beat Boston yesterday. Jimmy finally did what he was supposed to do to them in Game 7 last year. Stuff like 7-3. But
I just want to put out there that Jimmy sat out the night before. He just did not play for whatever reason.
A win. Making excuses.
Second night to lead the team to a win.
Jason Tatum played a little better.
Where was he when Jason Tatum was dropping 49? I'm just saying, he sat on the bench and watched Jason Tatum put his whole team in the blender and was like, all right,
This is what happens when you talk and you throw a low jab at a
I'm just
saying. That's what happened. Yeah, Fred, that was your fault. That was your fault.
But did Jimmy play the night Jason Tatum had 49? No, he sat on the bench and watched.
Coincidence, right?
Right, coincidence.
No,
it's way too early. It's way too early to be talking about these boys. See what I did there, folks? That's how you get them back on track.
I'm sorry. All in all, locker room. Look at Brooklyn. They were struggling. They had a lot going on, but they didn't have the right folks in the locker room. As good as the guy Steve Nash is, he wasn't the right guy for that atmosphere, right? For that environment. Jack Mom comes in Brooklyn looks like a completely different team, right? Also, give KD some credit as a leader. We got to do that because KD doesn't get enough credit these days. People got a history of bashing him. Give this man credit. And then lastly, look at the Lakers. Locker room, the coach they have in that locker room, the guys they have in that locker room. Russ Brooks' approach, his willingness to adjust, AD's change in energy, playing through injury, so on and so forth, is very motivating. And then Bron is obviously a leader. So these are two specific teams that has turned it around. Trey, I know I told you the Lakers could be anywhere from a 5 seed to like an 11 seed. Right now, I have them closer to a 5 seed now because they seem to have turned it. I mean, 1 7 to 10 could have been 8 to 10, and then Brooklyn's won like 7 to 10 as well. So, yeah, locker room, man, is my word.
I'll say I got a question for you too, Freddie. Do you think, and Trey, you too? So, for example, I think too, in terms of like too early to judge, it could be kind of situational on like how you are losing, because obviously. We're judging in a negative way, right? As in, like, your team is losing, not your team is winning.
No, right? not negative. Negative and positive, because you can also say the same thing for the Jazz as well.
I think the Jazz.
What about a team like the Broncos? When was it?
I think it's too early. I think it's too early to judge the Broncos and the Packers, to be honest with you.
So
and I mean,
on the season or judging them on like what they could be in a year, you know what I mean? Like, are you?
I'm talking. Yeah, so if you're looking at season base, you can say, "Oh, it's a disappointment," right? Because you expect more. But like, it's a new situation. It's a new system. It's a whole I can't be mad at Russell Westbrook and the Broncos not being great. Like I wasn't predicting them being overly stellar to begin with. Like they weren't my Super Bowl favorite. I like the acquisition of Russell Wilson, but
so Trey, so can we say this though? Because I think we have other evidence to prove that Russell Wilson might be cooked. Because look at Seattle, they were trash last year with Russell Wilson and all these pieces, and now with Geno, a guy who was pretty much in the NFL quarterback graveyard. Revived that team, revived that franchise in the same, breath of Russell Wilson, making the Broncos look as bad as they were when they had Drew Lock or whatever his name is a couple years ago. In fact, we can argue they look worse. I mean, I saw something that said if they just averaged 18 points per game this year, they would have won the majority or all of their games. Because their defense is playing at an elite level, but their quarterback just can't. You know what I'm saying? And then their coach is not good either. So I think for them, it's like, okay, yeah, they just don't have it. The quarterback, we have about a 2 or 3 year sample size of just him being bad wherever he was. And then we have another guy who just replaced him, who is about to get a contract because of what he's doing over there. And then Green Bay, I mean, they are who they are. They're going to be fine regardless.
Yeah, I hear that. I just look at Russell Wilson, right, in his situation. And I think because of what I've seen from him, at minimum, he's a quality game manager. So I got to bank on that. I've seen that. To say he's cooked, I got to, I hear you. Geno, I didn't peg the Seahawks to be here. But they could be playing above what they're supposed to, too. Geno has a chip on the shoulder. He's playing for a contract. Is he going to do this next season? Is this going to be a consistent thing from Geno? I consistently saw that from Russell Wilson. So that's why I'm saying it's a little too early. Same thing for Aaron Rodgers. If I didn't have that, track record to bank on, then I wouldn't make that statement. But that's the reason why I make those statements. Because, again, I've seen it. Geno's a good player. I like Geno. It's just before he started going off this season, I thought Geno was a little bit more than a jag, just a guy. So, I mean, that's not disrespect. Again, I like Geno. Solid backup.
I want to agree with you, but I think that's also the main point. Damn, this guy was able to do this with the pieces that you weren't able to do this with. And they've had some injuries, too. They've lost some pieces. Even on the defenses, they lost Bobby Wagner, right? They lost, 2 running backs already? They lost.
Maybe Russ just needed a change of scenery, too. Peyton Manning left, and then it kind of revitalized his career a little bit. You thought he was done, when he was on the Colts. But then he goes and, now he's a little more relevant with the Broncos. Same with Tom Brady. Maybe it's a similar situation. But again, I think it's too early to judge. Now, if the same thing happens next season, tough, Russ. I don't know what to tell you. We can't let you cook no more. We got to let Sierra, whoever is cooking, handle that job. You can't cook no more. That's how I see it. But we got maybe they want to trade him. Bro. So, but we will be transitioning on to the next segment, ladies and gentlemen.
I did not know you guys were still here. As you can see, we're at the back end of the show. No pun intended, but look, hope you all enjoyed it. And before you go, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow the IG account, share the content to anybody who's anybody. And most importantly, leave your thoughts and comments below. But I gotta go back and play Buddy in 2K, so let me unmute him real quick. Excuse me. Hey, boss, I'm back. Nah, you better catch this word. You know we get buckets around here.